back in the building, and I am so excited. This is Tuesdays with Tawana. So grateful to be back in community one more time. It's been a minute. Just being in the process of healing. So I am just overjoyed and so grateful and so honored and so excited to be back. It's been a long several weeks. I don't even remember the last time I was able to do Tuesdays with Tawana because I've been in this process of healing for about a month, for about 6 weeks. For about 6 weeks. So I think I tried to push my way through and do some episodes, and then had to take a break because one of the things that we often talk about on this show is taking care of our bodies. So it is so important that we take care of our bodies, we listen to our bodies. Our bodies tell us a lot, whether it's when we're not feeling well or when we're feeling great, or if there's something in our womb or in our spirit or in our gut that we need to follow. We shouldn't ignore it. We should honor who we are, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're going through in that moment, and respond accordingly, because we talk a lot about feeling all the feels, right? On Tuesdays with Tawana, we don't want you to diminish or um, devalue or ignore anything that you are going through. If you're feeling great and happy and joyful, great. And if you're not, honor that and acknowledge that. We just ask that you not stay there and you take the necessary steps or necessary responses that are going to speak life to your situation. Just like my writing coach when I was um, doing when I was on track for my PhD, my writing coach said, what you focus on expands. And I choose to focus on that which brings me life, that which brings me joy. It doesn't mean that I ignore the fact that I have been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. It doesn't mean that I ignore the 9 days that I spent in the hospital for a blood infection. It doesn't mean that I disregard how Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was treated during the questioning and the hearings. It doesn't mean that I ignore the fact that our black and brown beloveds are still being unjustly killed. It doesn't mean that I ignore what is going on in our individual states as it relates to education and how people in leadership and in government are steadily trying to remove any blackness and truth out of our storytelling and our history telling. It doesn't mean that I ignore that a white woman had the nerve to write a book about my story, whether it's being black, whether it's being bougie, whatever falls in between. It doesn't mean that I disregard what is going on with the misunderstanding and misnomer about CRT. It doesn't mean that I ignore that we need to step up as a democratic body and to really focus on pushing back and fighting back. And no, we don't have to fight like the white supremacists or white thought or those who are constantly degrading and demeaning black and brown beloveds. but it also means that we need to use our voice to tell our own story, because if we don't tell our stories, then somebody else will tell our story, which is not necessarily true. It's not necessarily authentic. It's not necessarily true to my experience. So for today, we're going to just kind of glide through a few things that I've missed out on over the last several weeks. Hey, brother. Yes, I am so happy to be back on TWT. Thank you for sending love and blessings and healing. I love you so much, so much, and just so grateful to see you on this thread. So let's get it popping. Let's talk about, what's going on. I am just grateful to have the energy and to be in this process of healing where I am able to engage in community, because y'all know I always talk about healing happens in community. Healing over the 9 days that I was in the hospital, and even though I wasn't able to do TWT, community was still happening, whether it was Facebook messages, public messages, private messages, family galvanizing, family coming to see me, family wanting to come see me, family texting me and calling me every day, or just, people who are near or far reaching out to me and praying for me, and reaching out to me. All of that uh, together helped me to heal and to press forward and not to focus on what I was going through, which was very traumatic, just to name it, but it wasn't traumatizing to me because I had to look at what the remedies were, look at my team of doctors, speak up and speak out and advocate for myself. And if I had any questions or concerns, making sure that I made it known so that my doctors would see me and hear me and give me the necessary tools so that I can heal and survive. So just very quickly, I've posted this, so I won't really go into the harrowing journey of healing, but y'all know I always say healing ain't easy. So I was attending a online virtual conference a couple of Saturdays ago with Reverend Dr. Melva Sampson and Pink Robe Chronicles. And about midway through the virtual conference, I felt really warm and I took my temperature. So I listened to my body, and my temperature was 102.7. So I am grateful to the hospital that I am under care, and they have an oncology urgent care, because a regular urgent care, if you will, may or may not know how to respond to someone who is in active treatment for any type of cancer. So they have an oncology urgent care, and they were right on it. They were able to take some cultures, which then resulted in a blood infection. And what I've learned is that there's levels to this, right? There's levels to this blood infection. So sometimes when people are experiencing sepsis is how your body is responding to the infection or the bacteria that's in your blood. So there's levels to it. There's different types of bacteria. There's different modes and levels to it. Some people who those signs like 102.7 fever may not have been as obvious, and they may have been some other things going on, like a headache that they may have taken some Tylenol for, or even a fever or a pain, but it ended up being detrimental and being septic, can cause some very damaging results. So I am grateful, so grateful that I listened to my body, and I had a great team of doctors that listened to me and paid attention to my body, so that I was able to take some antibiotics some antibiotics that were very strong. So I had to stay in the hospital for 9 days and then spend another 5 days at home administering that same antibiotic through my port, which is a whole different story. But anyway, I'm here. I'm grateful. And I shared this story because, hey, Tony, so good to see you. I share stories because I think storytelling and telling our own stories is so important and really encourages others to then share their stories in their own special way, whether it's a platform like this or with a close friend or some family members. However you decide to share your story, understand that in that storytelling you are building a community, you're building your tribe, because then they might be able to accompany you and journey with you through some harrowing times. It may not be a diagnosis, it may be financial challenges, it may be marital problems, it may be the community you live in, it may be the schools that are lacking proper educational tools for our black and brown children. The list goes on and on and on, and it's so important to share your story. So I share this story not only for me because it's cathartic and healing for me, but also to encourage my beloveds to share my story, or their story, excuse me. Jan, so good to see you. Thank you for joining. I am going to get through this broadcast. I just can't promise you that I'm not going to get through it without crying, because I'm just really grateful to be here. Grateful to be here. Grateful that I am still able and still alive and breathing. And I had an amazing team of doctors who saw me, who listened to me, who had concern about me. And I don't take that lightly, because as we know, in black and brown situations dealing with medical institutions and otherwise, oftentimes, many times, sometimes we are ignored, we are dismissed, we are marginalized, our pain is not honored, our situation or circumstance is not honored. And there are times when, we may not have that advocate or know how to advocate for ourselves. Thank you, Tony. Tony said I'm crying because I'm grateful you are here. And I just don't take that lightly. I'm grateful for community. I'm just grateful for this moment. So those of you who might be joining this vodcast or later on this podcast or watching on YouTube later, the way we roll together as we build community one episode at a time, I will acknowledge and insert any comments into this narrative because it is about building community. You may hear me give a shout out to some black owned companies like Hoop Mob, where I got my earrings from, or just building community in this conversation. And although we're not able to have an audible dialogue, we can still have this dialogue, because this is a form of communication through the comments, through the likes, through the questions. There's no foolish question. We will address everything. I have a wide variety of people that listen to or watch this vodcast or listen to this podcast, whether it's white people, black, brown, our First Nation, indigenous people, those who are Christian believers, those who are not, those who follow other sects of religion, sects of religion. And we bring all of that together to honor where we are, so I can see you, you can see me, and then we can journey together in whatever we might be facing. So with that, I just want to make a quick note of my Prince gear today, because this broadcast is on Tuesday, and unfortunately, we lost our dear beloved Prince in this realm on April 21st, 2016. And somebody correct me if I don't have that date right. But that I'm a huge Prince fan. And shout out to one of my former classmates from like junior high school, Breeze, who gave us every day in April something of Prince. And I tried to love every single post every day. And his music is still alive in my soul and in my spirit. And I miss Prince dearly. I miss his talent. Was he perfect? No. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And he was a human being, and he loved humanity, and he had some mistakes and mishaps and missteps. And he's no longer with us, but has left behind a beautiful legacy of his music and speaking truth to power and really encouraging and empowering us to live life through music by building community. Miss Odessa, always good to see you, my friend. No worries about being late. I receive the blessings for sure. I receive the oh, Mother Carolyn, is so good to see you on the line today. Um, y'all send some loving energy and healing energy to Mother Carolyn. I would truly appreciate it, and I'm sure she would not only appreciate it but receive it as well. As well. So today I just wanted to pause to name Prince. I have on my chain that was gifted to me when I was back in Denver. I have on my Prince shirt. You can't really see his face, and then the symbol. Okay, here's the symbol. So my purple glasses. So I am in Prince mode today, which has given me so much life and so much energy. So, as we talk about celebrities, I am not going to spend much time on this because I don't have a dime in this dollar. But it did happen while I was on my healing hiatus. The smack that was held around the world. I am not going to talk about the smacker or the receiver of the smack, nor am I going to tell of the story of alopecia because it's not my story to tell. I can tell about, Black people and hair, and it's important. And I can also talk about, um, I can also talk about the journey of the importance of who we are and all of our body parts that mean something to us. Because, as most of you know, I lost all of my hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, hair, and we serve a God of restoration for sure. So, as we talk about celebrities just for a hot moment, I, oh, so what I was reminded of, and I grew up Christian. I tend to consider myself a Christian, but I am also a spiritual being that looks to embody different forms of spirituality and religion. So whether it's Buddhism through my meditation, or through Islam through my prayer, it's Christianity, believing in God and using inclusive language of God, or believing in the women. If it weren't for the women that are even marginalized and silenced in our Christian text, I also use other forms of inspiration, whether it's books by Black women, womanist. I have a womanist stance, a womanist prowess, whether it's womanist religion, theology, womanist ethics, womanist ontology, a way of being. All of that is me. All of that. So, but from a Christian standpoint, I just want to say what I was reminded of was, when the story of Jesus being led to Golgotha to be crucified. Before that, he rode through the city on a donkey, and the people laid palms at the donkey's feet, at his feet, and praised him and shouted Hosanna, right? I am not comparing Will Smith to Jesus. Please let me make that point very, very clear. Just the story reminded me of this. Let me clear that up. Yeah. So they shouted Hosanna, and they were so excited because they got to be around Jesus or even be in the crowd, right? But then it was those same people, when he went before several governments, went before the people, they said, crucify him, totally forgetting everything that Jesus had done in his 33 years of active ministry, right? Because that's all we have documented. His 3 years between 30 and 33 when he was crucified. We have documented what all of the healing and the salvation and the community building. And one of the things that I was reminded of was how watching the Oscars, I watched because a black man, it was the best Oscars that I've seen in a while, except for that moment. And so as I was watching the whole situation unfold, Chris said his joke, and comedians take real life situations and make jokes. Some are quite insulting, others funny, and each person has their own situation or circumstance on how they receive it, right? So Jada kind of chuckles, but then kind of rolls her eyes. So she wasn't sure how to receive the joke. Was it empowering? Was it disrespectful? And then we had this whole big thing about alopecia, blah, blah, blah. And then Will cracked up laughing, like, ha, 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 like a hearty laugh, until he glanced over to his wife. And the reason why I am pointing this out is because sometimes there are times when we just don't know how to respond to a situation or circumstance. So in that moment, we may laugh out of nervous laughter. We may laugh because we don't know what else to do or say. The people who watched the slap were the same people that gave him the standing ovation when he received his Oscar, reminding me of Jesus's journey when they said Hosanna and then crucify him. The same with the people. But what I will say about the people that gave him the standing ovation, I can't speak for the hundreds of people that were thousands, how many people were in that room, but I can, in my imagination, think some stood because other people were standing. Some stood because they appreciated his work and they wanted to separate the heinous act that he just performed with a lifetime of work that he has accomplished and what he has tried to portray to the world. So they stood for that. Other people stood because of their image. They didn't want anyone talking about them, and the camera happened to hit them while they were. So there were all these different reasons why people stood. There are some people who believed that what he did was honorable, because some people live and grow up in that situation or circumstance where they need that, or they look to that form of protection. Someone like me, it might have been a bit triggering because I don't necessarily care for abuse in any form, no matter how you look at it. But when I was younger, I did, because when boys or young men used to bother me or be inappropriate, I used to call on my big brother to whoop some behind. So then if I was 12 or 11 or whatever, I may have appreciated it. But at 52, I had to, is this really happening right now? When you were just laughing at the same joke that you were going to slap this brother about? but no judgment. Moving on. The academy did what they needed to do or whatever. Everybody had an opinion about it. So we are going to move on from this part of the conversation to move on to the next thing that I want to talk about. But what I wanted to point out here was everyone has their story to tell and their own experience, and life experiences impact and affect people differently. And who are we to judge? What we do have an opportunity to do is to have this dialogue and this conversation. A while ago, when I was doing my research, I talked about Paolo Freire and Pedagogy of the Oppressed, where he talks about this epistemological curiosity. Instead of me being nosy, instead of me being judgmental, instead of me degrading and demeaning a black man or a black woman or black men and dismissing them like the world does, I can have this opportunity. I can create this opportunity to have this epistemological curiosity and really have a conversation about getting help. Why did you respond that way? What are some other things that could have been done? Even Jada didn't agree, which was so antithetical to all the conversations that were happening, and no one talked to Jada. No one talked to Chris because Chris refused to give a statement. So anyway, understanding and honoring where we are and who we be and how we feel, but being able to journey together toward a place where there's healing, journey together where there is a place where we can offer some help and support, journeying together so we don't end up on the other side of this life without honor and respect, being killed unjustly at the hands of law enforcement, or the wars that are going on. The fact that we act like Tigray doesn't exist when there has been a genocide and rape and war going on there for almost 2 years. And now we want to, and not to dismiss what's going on in the Ukraine, but we can do a both and. Why is the Ukraine so important over what's happening in Tigray? Or when things were going on in Palestine. And so we pick and choose this whiteness, and we don't even realize that we're picking and choosing this whiteness because this whiteness is degrading and demeaning. This whiteness is of supremacy. This whiteness is of power and control. This whiteness is about money. So I guess Tigray doesn't have enough money and resources, but Russia and the Ukraine does. So we're going to give all of our attention there, because eventually war, it brings in money, because somebody's going to have to rebuild the Ukraine. Okay, enough of that. Let's look at what some folk have to say. Mother Carolyn receives the thoughts and the prayers. Great examples. Thank you, Mother Carolyn. My brother said, yes, preach, preach. Yeah, we pick and choose this whiteness, because understand, beloved, I was listening to a podcast the other day with my dissertation chair, Dr. Donna Latkin, Dr. Cherie Patrick, who was in another cohort, but my cohort mate, Dr. Marion Missy McGee, and we were talking about whiteness. Yes, it is being a color, but it's also a thought, because we have people like Clarence Thomas and Candace Owens and Herschel Walker, who you look at them and they look like me. And I used to be bothered by this saying, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. That used to just, I hate, but now I understand it, because my worldview, my spiritual view, my listening ability to what is happening and looking beyond the text, right? Exegeting what's happening and watching these Black folk demean and degrade our own, and to vote against us, and to side with number 45. And so there is this whiteness that is white thought, that's white supremacy, that is it's not all white people. Just like when people say all Black people do X, Y, and Z, it the same is in reverse. Not all white people, but it's enough of them, because your silence is killing us also. Even if you don't agree and you keep silent, you are killing us. You've got to speak up and talk to your cousins, as we would say. Talk to your people in the boardroom. Talk to your people at the dinner table. Talk to your people in the courthouse. Talk to your people in law enforcement. But see, when you speak up, just like the people who were at the Oscars who stood up and did a standing ovation and was like, what the hell am I doing? Am I really supporting this dude right now? Sometimes you got to speak up and you got to lose to gain. Anything that you might lose by speaking up is something that you didn't need in the first place. And because we are in this space of community, right? There's always restoration happening and the opportunity for restoration. So if I lose something that wasn't good for me to begin with, then I am going to gain that which I need, which is healing, which is strength, which is covering, which is love, which is grace, which is mercy, because I've let go of those things that have been blocking that which gives me life. I am blocking those people that don't even understand what critical race theory is. Stop talking about it when it comes to elementary, middle school, and high school education, or even in education, period. It is a law school research that is factual, that talks about critical race, that talks about black people, that talks about the heinous activity of white people, and it belonged in a certain setting. And now white people who don't understand it want to take it out because they feel as if they're losing their power and control. The same thing with the threat of Roe versus Wade and white and black and brown bodies and honoring our bodies. It's all about power and control. They don't want to use the word gay. They ban the word gay. Gay, 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 gay. LGBTQ plus. I'll say it and keep saying it over and over and over, because it's about power and control. Because it's something that you don't understand and you don't believe in, and you just want to procreate so you can make more human beings, to make more money, and to hand over that generational wealth that we don't have. So you're going to take away our rights. This is my body and my decision. You're going to take away the opportunity for me to have health care so that I can be in the hospital for 9 days and get the care that I need. So much, beloved. So much. Let's see what some folk have to say. Hey, Kathy. Bless you. Bless you. Reverend Dr. Regina Groff is in the building. Anything you may lose by speaking up is not needing what you needed in the first place. Yes. Write that quote. Write that down and send it to me, because y'all know I don't have a script. I don't really, write things. Like, I'm a manuscript preacher, but I could do this off the top of the cuff with, letting spirit or inviting spirit to guide me accordingly. Yes, Kathy, selective argument on their part. What works for them? Larry said, before you sign out, I still remember when you called me and told me that the oncologist called me in the middle of the night, to say that I had the infection. I'm still thinking about that doctor in my head. Like you said, it could have easily been dismissed. And I'm sending a shout out to that doctor. To God be the glory. Yes, a part of my story was when I had the fever, went to urgent care. They were closing at 7, went to the ED. They sent me home Sunday morning at 2 a.m. And then like at about 11:30, 12, somewhere Sunday night into Monday morning, the doctor called me and told me that I had to come back in, that I had a blood infection. So yes, thank you for naming that, Larry. And I want to close with this. I am so grateful for two things in particular. One, our Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm so grateful. What I am concerned about, and I hope that as community that we will take these midterm elections and really do something about it. Donate to those who really have your best interests at heart. Go and vote during the midterm elections, because what happened to Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was unnecessary. It was demeaning, it was disrespectful, it was degrading. It was all of those ugly things in public by people that were voted into office. Those people that because we all, well, we don't all vote. Some for religious reasons, some for other reasons. But we let them be put into office. So I'm hoping that we will speak up and speak out and galvanize and come together to make sure that someone like Herschel Walker does not get elected in Georgia. Someone like Stacey Abrams is elected in Georgia. Let me rephrase the first thing I said, that Senator Raphael Warnock is reelected, that we then go to these other states that are constantly degrading and demeaning and dehumanizing us through laws and legislation and taking books out of schools, that we get them up out of office, because they are not speaking life to us. They are not honoring us. They are not seeing us. They are not hearing us. They are not believing in us. They are not speaking the truth. They are hiding behind their false sense of power, and we have got to get them out of office. We have got to get them out of office. Whew. One other thing. Hey, Reverend Christina, what is going on, my beloved? Whew. We also have to remember that no is a vote. That part right there, Kathy. No is a vote. So I want to leave you with this. I cried all weekend. While I was in the hospital, I wasn't really worried. I didn't shed a tear. I was, oh, let me say this. My spirit was gentle and listening and engaging with people and asking nurses and doctors, how are you doing? Take care of you. Be safe. Those are things that I did to calm my spirit and to stay true to who I am, even in the midst of a hospital visit, even in the midst of this diagnosis, even in the midst of missing treatment since February, even in the midst of this daunting process of healing. I made a conscious effort to be kind. But let me just say this. This wasn't about respectability politics. And if you don't know about respectability politics, maybe we'll talk about it next Tuesday. But look it up, because it wasn't about appeasing the doctors or the nurses or someone else. It was about being authentic and being true to who I am. And I was still able to speak truth to power with being gentle for myself, because I didn't need to rile up any negative energy in me, because that does not help my healing. That actually is adverse to my healing. So I had to think about me when I asked questions, when I pushed back, when the doctor came in and muted my TV when I wasn't even talking to him. And I'm like, in my mind, I was like, dude, are you serious? But then I was like, Tawana, it's really not that serious. Don't get all riled up about putting the TV on mute. Could just breathe and check yourself, right? So I did it for me, not about respectability politics. And that leads me into Good Friday. So I was home that Wednesday before Good Friday. On Good Friday, I watched all of these beautiful Good Friday services, and I actually posted particular names of people that just spoke to my heart, spoke truth to power, wasn't concerned about bringing us to the resurrection too prematurely, because there are times we got to stay for Christian based religions. We got to stay at Good Friday and learn what it is to be in the midst of the crucifixion, to be in the midst of our diagnosis, to be in the midst of illness, to be in the midst of racism, to be in the midst of classism, to be in the midst of sexism, to be in the midst of being alone, being scared, being fearful, all of those. We got to learn how to navigate that space without jumping ahead, because we don't know what tomorrow will bring. We only know the resurrection happened now because it happened, over 2,000 years ago. Right? So we need to know what was going on that Friday. What happened on that silent Saturday? So I was in tears Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because Sunday was the resurrection for me. Sunday was the reminder that I can turn things around because I have the power and the grace and the mercy, because I am created in the image and likeness of our Creator. And I have an opportunity to breathe, even when it's hard to breathe sometimes, even when I'm experiencing some pain. I don't want to focus on the pain. I want to focus on the breath that's giving me life, that's causing me healing. I want to focus on the trees and the sun and the animals and the community that helps me to survive this thing. And on Good Friday, there was some preaching women that talked about woman, behold your son, son, behold your mother, and spinning that thing about community and not necessarily about the individuals at the cross. There was a time another preacher talked about, a pardon, and if you don't accept the pardon doesn't exist. So in the pardoning of our sins, we need to accept that and acknowledge that and do that for us, so that we then don't turn around and do insane behavior, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. There was another preacher that talked about the forsaken place, God forsaken, and how even in that moment you have an opportunity to pray, you have an opportunity to breathe, you have an opportunity to hope, you have an opportunity to look to this Afrofuturism, which another preacher talked about. This here flesh, when we look back, we're not staying stuck in the past. We're having a Sankofa moment where we're bringing that which was left behind. We're bringing our dignity. We're bringing our spirituality. We're bringing our divinity into the present so that we can see ourselves in the future. So yes, I am diagnosed with HER2 positive metastatic breast cancer. Yes, I had a dear friend that died from the same diagnosis. Yes, I have another friend who is in a hospice because it spread to her brain. And if you don't know, metastatic means it spreads to other areas. The difference with my metastatic breast cancer is that it was the ducts that lead to the major organs that had cancer. So it could have spread. It could have spread. It could have spread to other organs. But for me and my story, it did not. But I'm still in a maintenance program every 3 weeks to receive chemotherapy, because everyone's story is different, but we all have an opportunity to be where we are right now and to honor and acknowledge where we are, no matter what we might go through and what we might be going through, and to see ourselves in the future. Whether we see ourselves in the future in this life, or we see ourselves in the future in whatever your belief is in the next life, we see ourselves with our generational passing down, not generational curses, but generational wealth. And we're not just talking about money. We're talking about having conversations about health, about having conversations about cancer and high blood pressure and diet and exercise and starting our own businesses and navigating our finances and taxes and all. We have an opportunity to live right now and to live beyond measure, to live beyond whiteness, to live beyond racism, to live beyond hate, to live beyond degradation and marginalization. We have an opportunity, and I am a witness, and I do what I do to be a witness because I am a believer, and I know that if it's done for me, it'll be done for you. It may not look like me, it may not sound like me, it may not be my journey, because there are other other people who were diagnosed with cancer who won't have to go back to treatment, and they may never have to deal with cancer ever again. But there are many other people that always have in the back of their mind, what if a recurrence happens? Or those like me, where a recurrence did happen several times, several surgeries, several near-death experiences, and I am still here. So I share this story to encourage you today that you are still here. You have an opportunity to live your best life now, not comparing yourself to somebody else's best life, but you have an opportunity to live your best life now and see yourself in the future. And if you don't like what you see, change it. You have the power to change it. You have the power to move out of this insane behavior. All of the things that we are experiencing right now, our ancestors and those that have gone before us have experienced it, and they came through so that we can live and not die at the hands of systemic racism and sexism and classism. And those that did die, we don't want their blood to still cry from the ground. We want to be able to insert justice. We want to be able to honor those that have gone before us. Beloved, on today, if I don't leave you with anything else today, love yourself, honor yourself, because you have the power to shift the atmosphere. You have the power and the brilliance and the wherewithal and the community. It may not seem like it, but you continue to envision it, and it is going to manifest. And we are going to come together, and we are going to vote these hateful people out of office. We're going to get rid of this police system that wasn't designed for us to begin with. We are going to reinvent that so that it is to protect and to serve and not to kill and destroy. We are going to change the dilapidated neighborhoods that we are living in by design. We are going to change the schools that are in those same communities that don't have libraries, that don't have teachers that are trained and wanting to be there. We are going to shift the atmosphere. We have an opportunity because our ancestors and those that have gone before us have done it. They have given us the tools. So we just got to go back and fetch it like Sankofa to do it now so that our future generations have a world to live in that is loving and graceful and providing and provisional and protective. I love y'all. I'm going to read some of these comments. We also have to, I read that one, that no is a vote. I'll say that again. Christina said, thank you. You can't really appreciate and understand and celebrate resurrection until you really feel and sit with the darkness before the light. Absolutely, preacher. You better preach that thing. And what a day means in our lives when we face our own Good Friday. My God. Kathy said, identifying the fullness of Jesus Christ beyond what serves our needs. I love you, Kathy. And I just send so much love your way. Whew, to God be the glory. Christina said, Ashe. Mother Carolyn testified, yes. Mother Carolyn reiterated, we have the power. We have the power. And I love y'all. I thank y'all for rocking with me just a little while longer because it's been a minute and a lot has been going on and I had so much to say and I miss my community so much. And I'm so grateful to be here, so grateful to honor this moment, to honor you, to honor those who will listen or watch later, to remember Prince, to remember that tomorrow is 420. Don't let them criminalize what you do to heal yourself. Please know, yes, it's 420. It's the day that we just chill and heal and smoke or eat or do whatever it is that we do to bring life to us. And then on the 21st, we will remember Prince. And then my brother's birthday's coming up the following week. So I'm so excited about that. And I love y'all. Be well. Take care of you. Breathe. Feel all the feels. And let us move forward together and journey together and build community only as we know how. Only as we know how. Through the storm, through the rain, through grief and loss, through joy, through celebration, all of that. We embody all of that. And we're going to live and live fully and fearfully and wonderfully. Don't forget our domestic violence hotline is scrolling across, and the suicide prevention lifeline. We always got to name that and insert into our narrative. For those who will listen later, the domestic violence hotline is I'm waiting for it to scroll by because my mind, I usually know it by heart. It's 1-800-799-SAFE or 799-7233. Or you can go to the hotline.org, and our suicide prevention lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. And with that, oh, Reverend Sherilyn, presiding elder, always my presiding elder. I love you so much. I love y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for taking a little more time with me on today. And let us build community one episode at a time, one epistemological curiosity, one love, one journey, one interaction, one prayer, one loving energy, healing energy, comforting energy, strengthening energy, courageous energy. Let us build community as only we know how, because that's what we do. This is Reverend T, aka Dr. Tad. This has been Tuesdays with Tawana, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on Facebook Live, or later on any of your podcast platforms and on YouTube. Blessings to all. I just love y'all, and I'm so grateful that y'all rock with me on Tuesdays. I look forward to seeing you next week. Love you.